Welcome to A Deeper Dive, where you, the viewers, have the opportunity to follow along with the guests on Iyanla Fix My Life and do the exact same work that the women in the House of Healing are doing. Now, just as a reminder, we are now in episode 3, where the guests have done some deep soul searching and had some revelations as we move toward dispelling the myth of the angry black woman. This was a powerful episode, and there's a lot going on, so let's dive right in. I want to start with some general takeaways, things that you may have missed in all the activity that was going on in the house. First, I want you to know that Gloria and Iyanla continue to demonstrate that you can be aware of something you do. You can really want to stop something you're doing. You may think you know how to change on a dime, but the truth is you cannot change what you do until you neutralize the emotions that hold the behavior in place. Now, whether that emotion is fear or guilt or shame or anger, you cannot and will not learn a new way of being as long as there is any unresolved emotion in the underbelly of the behavior. You have to neutralize the emotion that gave birth to it. And as long as Gloria is unwilling to feel, she's going to continue to have and demonstrate the behavior that she doesn't want to. Another huge lesson is that you will always notice that which matches your energy. The energy of your most dominant thought about yourself, or the energy of the thoughts and feelings that you deny about yourself. This is what you're going to first see in others. This is why Gloria sees so much about Iyanla, because she's looking at herself. You see, what you see in others and what you point out, the stuff that makes them bad and wrong, is a reflection of who and what you believe you are, even when you deny it. Gloria is still learning that. Another lesson that I drilled into the women on camera and off camera is that when you feel unloved, unwanted, unheard, invalidated as a child, chances are, more often than not, you will get into romantic relationships seeking to fill those needs that weren't fulfilled as a child. However, the energy of those unresolved traumas and experiences is going to attract people to you that will reinforce the feelings that you already have. You are going to attract people who behave in ways and speak in ways that make you feel unloved and unwanted. That's the cycle. You see, what you draw to you is what you are or what you believe you are. Oh my God, we see it with Drea and Cristal. The needy behavior that both of these women cop to from their desperate attempt to meet their unmet needs from the childhood. And that's why, as Drea said, I'll call you 200 times. Oh my God, can you imagine? So, here's a big question. In fact, it's a question that Bo, one of the male guests, asked. Why are black women so angry? Now, that's the whole purpose of our show. That's what we've been talking about. But as we've learned what's under their behavior, as we learn their feelings and their traumas, this is what I shared with the women again and again, and I'll share it with you now. Black women have no more anger than anyone else. Everybody's story is different. Everyone's experience is different, and every person is different. But it seems to be a national and a social phenomena that black women are expected to, taught to, and relied on to carry more psychological and emotional weight than other people would ever dare attempt to pick up or carry. And then they're taught to be quiet about it. That's why they need tools. That's why we all need tools to help us heal the wounds that come from a broken heart and a shut mouth. So right now, I want to give you some tools, the same tools that I gave the women, but tools that you did not see. Learn how to communicate appropriately and effectively. Communication is key in learning how to manage and resolve anger for everyone. And it's something that black women weren't taught, and many didn't learn because they weren't allowed to speak their authentic experience. And if you don't feel heard, or when your experiences are diminished and dismissed so that others can stay comfortable or be right, the appropriate feelings may be abandoned, belittled, dominated, excluded, exploited, hurt. But for some reason, for black women and little black girls, everything you say and do and feel gets labeled as anger. So there's no way for you to share an authentic emotional experience, and now as adults, you don't know how to communicate your feelings. That is why your emotional list is so important. You've got to go to it, negativeemotions.com, and get your emotions list. There's a negative emotions list and there's a positive emotions list, so that you can learn how to communicate effectively what it is that you're feeling. And in order to express what you're feeling, here's something the women had to learn how to do, and many people need to learn how to do, so they don't come across as angry. Respectfully voice your concerns without the heat and fire of assumption, judgments, and your unhealed wounds. Just voice your concerns. Another thing we have to learn how to do, ask questions. Don't make assumptions. Ask for what you need. Don't think that people know what you want or that you know what someone will or will not do. Ask questions. Another thing that'll help you manage anger and keep it at bay, consider other people's perspective. When faced with situations that make them feel uncomfortable or make you uncomfortable, this is what Jamaica did at the mixer. She asked questions. She voiced her concerns and her confusion. Good work, Jamaica. And that's what we all have to learn how to do. Look at other people's perspectives, ask questions, and ask for what you want. Now, here's another mistake that many women make. Now, men do the same thing, they just haven't copped to it yet. And often we excuse a man's inappropriate behavior saying, well, that's just a man being a man. But as women, as people, but I'm talking specifically about black women, we often hide the details and experiences that are linked to our pain because we feel ashamed and alone. And we think that by revealing our pain, someone else might get hurt. It begins when we're little girls. In the overt and covert ways, we're taught to put everyone else's needs above our own. Listen, pain is universal, and living through painful experiences as a child crosses racial, social, and gender lines. Yet, for some reason, little black girls are taught to believe that their pain doesn't matter. And if it makes other people uncomfortable, they are expected to just be quiet. That's why telling your story, giving your pain a witness is absolutely crucial to your healing. That's what you didn't see. You didn't see the details, the pain of these women telling their story. This is true for everyone, not just black women or black people. When we voice our pain, we can address the unhealed wounds. And in the process, we allow the energy of the memory to be released, and we invite others to move through the pain with us, loving us, supporting us. Now, here are two caveats. You can't just tell a story forever or use it as an excuse for inappropriate behavior. At some point, you must endeavor to recognize and embrace the lessons that you gained through the experience. And you must learn to tell your story without insisting that anyone else has to validate it, agree with it, or apologize for it. Tell your story to heal, not to gain sympathy or to make an excuse or to get an apology. Understand this. There are some things you are never going to get an apology for. Now, there are few things that add to pain, the pain of being abused, like the guilt of feeling that you were somehow complicit, that you somehow caused this or should have been able to stop it. You see, Jamaica talked about her mother's response when she revealed that she had been sexually violated. Now, that's an example of the shame that's created when we blame a child for the person victimizing them. It destroys the child's sense of worth and value. That added to the fact that Jamaica thought she was too dark. Can you imagine? Just diminished her value and her worth. What we believe about ourselves is what we see and promote in others. When you feel good about who you are, your behavior demonstrates that, and you tend to help other people feel good about who they are. But if you walk through the world feeling inadequate, you're likely to stir up feelings of inadequacy in others. Same thing with guilt, because what you draw to you is what you are, what you see in others is what you believe you are, and what you feel about yourself, you will attract and draw out of others. So if you think you're guilty of something, you will always attract people into your life that have no problem. You are guilty of some wrongdoing, even if they don't know what it is, or even when it's their behavior that they make you feel guilty about. You see, that's precisely what the men communicated. What it's like to be in a relationship with the black women they've dated who made them feel bad and wrong and inadequate and guilty. In most instances, that's what the women in the House of Healing felt about themselves. Here's something that you didn't see, but we talked about in the house. Depression, the most common long-term symptom among survivors of sexual abuse. And while we think of depression as a heaviness or a sadness, it can also look very much like anger and inappropriate behavior. This is what the experts call irritable or agitated depression. That's likely what we saw in Jamaica, Iyanla, Cristal, and Gloria. For Jamaica, the pain and rage that she felt took her right back into the whacking room. Now, I just have to say this. An important note was the progress that the women made that gave them the ability to acknowledge that they had never truly listened to a black man, and they had become willing to find value in listening without responding. That was one of the tools that they learned. Understanding that our power is in the way that we respond to things was key in these women's transformation. What you did not see, and what I think is important for you to understand, is the true depth and breadth of the men's rants. Now, using the skills they had learned, the women were able to sit patiently, quietly, and curiously through more than 2 hours. You hear me? 2 hours of the men's opinions about everything that is wrong with a black woman. 2 flipping hours. And I can tell you they did not mince their words. And those women sat and they breathed and they checked in with their feelings and they listened, and as they acknowledged themselves for the first time, they heard. It was only Miss Lyra, who has less experience than the rest of the women in the house, who had a difficult time hearing what was said. But these women had done their work, they were prepared, they listened, they took it in, and they learned a lot. The thing they said was that they never had taken the time to consider what a man felt or was feeling or what he had to say. I thought I would hoot and throw myself on the floor. These women really did their work. Now here's what you didn't see, the work you didn't see, the physical exercises. I'm telling you, if you've got unresolved emotions holding in your body, you've got to work it out. These women get out of their story because they weren't telling their story for their pain to be witnessed. They got out of the story, they got into their bodies, they got into their feelings, and they were safe enough to sit through a very powerful and life-changing experience. This is the same work that I offer women each time I do a Wonder Woman weekend. In fact, there's one coming up in October, but I'll tell you more about that later. Just know that the real work was just too much to put it into the final edits. But you shall not be denied, because here are the tools that you can use to do your work at home. Now, if you haven't already done so, I encourage and invite you to go to negativeemotions.com and download the list. I'm going to show you this list again. The negative emotions and the positive emotions, or something like it. Make up one yourself. A list is important. It's an important tool to helping you build and expand your emotional library and your emotional vocabulary, so that you can describe what you are feeling instead of just defaulting to anger. This list will help you speak what you're feeling in a way that people can hear. And listen, never let anybody talk you out of your feelings. Oh, you don't feel that? Yes, I do. Your feelings are your feelings, and you have a right to have them. I just want you to get clear about what they are. Again, I encourage you to do a feeling check whenever you're in upset. Remember, we talked about that in episode 1 and episode 2. Do a feeling check when you're in emotional turmoil. And the way you do that is get still, breathe, check in, identify what you're feeling. And then take a breath and let it go, and let it go again, and breathe again. I call it rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. Wash, rinse, repeat until you feel yourself settling down. I also invite you to use the weekly worksheets that are being offered. You can download the sheets from Iyanla.com, Oprah.com, or Facebook.com. These worksheets offer you what you need to work yourself through the feelings that leads to the behavior that gets you labeled as angry. Once you understand the underbelly of the anger, you can choose better behavior. Now, for each worksheet, the instructions are very clear, so I'll leave you to do your work. Here's your assignments for this week. Now, you only have 2 assignments, and they're big ones. No. They are huge. Okay? You ready? Here goes. Tell your story. Tell your story. If you are holding on to experiences and memories that have never been witnessed or heard by anyone, find someone you can trust and tell your story, because telling your story will heal you and it will heal other people. Tell your story aloud to another human being so that your pain can be witnessed. And if you don't have anyone you can trust, you can write your story out in a journal and ask someone to read it. Or you can pray about your story and ask to have the lessons and the values of your experience revealed to you in ways that you understand. Now remember, don't get stuck in just telling the story, and don't use it as an excuse for what you do or don't do. Tell your story with the clear intention of releasing the pain and honoring your experiences as you heal your heart. Now here's your second assignment. This is for everybody. I want you to reach out again to someone you can trust, or someone you know will tell you the truth, and invite them to tell you 3 positive things and 3 not so positive things about yourself. You can do this in person, or you can do it by telephone, but you cannot send an email. This is not to be written in a form that then has to be transformed. Just tell them, I'm trying to discover what I don't know about myself, and I'm asking you for support. Now, your assignment, once you ask them about the 3 positive things and the 3 not so positive things, is to sit through the assignment, listening, breathing, releasing the need to question or respond, just like the women did when the men were speaking. Now, when the person is complete, you are to say this: thank you. Thank you for sharing your truth with me. And if you're up for it, only if you're up for it, you can say, is there anything you could suggest that would make me a better me? And again, you breathe, you check in, you listen, and when they're complete, you say, thank you for sharing that with me. Then, spend some time reflecting on what you heard and how it made you feel. Get your list. Get your list, okay? Now, pay particular attention to the things you want to dismiss as wrong or just their opinion or inaccurate. Stay with the feelings. Breathe deeply and let it go. You may want to journal about what you think you heard and how it made you feel. And this is how you do that. When they said blank, I felt blank, but I am now aware that I can blank. When they said blank, you fill in the blank. I felt blank, but I'm now aware that I can blank. Okay? On all the information you heard. Let me tell you something. These assignments are not for punks, wussies, or the faint of heart. This is the work for those who are ready to heal, ready to grow, and ready to change the trajectory of their lives. One final caveat. You can never bring up to the person who spoke to you what it is they said. You can't remind them of it. You can't use it against them. You can't beat them up with it. That would be a violation of confidence and a betrayal of trust. So just make sure that you're ready to hear and receive before you engage anyone in this process. And if you're not ready, that's okay. Keep breathing, keep journaling, keep checking in, because I know you will get there. Now, for those of you who want a little more guidance and support, I invite you to join me October 21st through the 23rd in Bethesda, Maryland for the Wonder Woman Weekend. And no, you don't have to be black to attend, but you do need to be a woman. Okay? You can go to Iyanla.com or InnerVisionsWorldwide.com to get all the information that you need to register. And please, don't write me about the cost of the workshop. I'm charging you what is required so that we don't have to do this in a tent in the park with the squirrels. You will be well treated, well fed, and you will have a roof over your head, and those things cost money. And we are going to do the work. So, use your tools, do your assignments, and I'll see you next week after our final episode in the series. Until then, please stay in peace and not pieces.